And we're live. What's up in the box, guys? This is TXP-Technologies coming in with another update. This time it is May 2017, pretty late, and I'm here to throw some news at you, some TXP-Network news. First of all, you probably don't recognize the screen. I'll explain that in a moment. But recently, a lot of things have happened, both in terms of software, hardware, development, and etc. And yeah, it's headlines time. First off, we're going to be talking about the new hardware that we've acquired, specifically relating to a certain laptop, TX-1305US, the HP Pavilion, the mini one. Then from there, we'll also be discussing, of course, the software development side of things. That would be the TXP VOS. And then finally, last but not least, we'll also be discussing that different screen that you're seeing there. I'm going to leave that as a surprise just for last. But without further ado, let's get into it. First of all, I'm currently working on and/or editing a video relating to an HP Pavilion TX-1305 US. It is a miniature little 13-inch laptop with an AMD Turon 2X16 processor in it. Most people probably know about the bad side of it, having it overheat on your lap and all that. But I actually managed to grab one a couple years back, and I've been using it for various video editing projects and gaming ever since. It originally came with a 32-bit build of Windows, and I've since switched it over to 64-bit in recent months. However, that's not working out too well because for some reason with 64-bit Windows, the thing doesn't quite perform as well, and it also heats up a lot more easily. Of course, I think I know exactly why, but nonetheless, I'm going to be upgrading the RAM in that thing, and also I'll be, how should I say this, modifying it a little bit. I've already performed some modifications. It came with an AMD Turon TL58, clocking in at 1.9 gigahertz dual-core processor. I decided to upgrade it to the TL60 just so I can get some slightly higher clock rates and also see if I can get a slight performance boost. From there, what I've done is I've installed RM clock onto Windows 10 Pro. So in this case, I'm using RM clock mainly to undervolt the processor so that it doesn't get as hot as quickly. However, it doesn't do too well if I leave it undervolted for too long or at the wrong voltages because, hey, that affects how the system runs, and I'm not going to go into the details, but sometimes it'll cause the system to lock up if I leave it running for prolonged periods. Nonetheless, I'm still working on the undervolting part, and yeah, a lot of the heat, according to a lot of research, most sources are saying that that heat issue is coming specifically from the GPU and not the CPU. However, that would be something where I'd have to go in and modify the VBIOS. Now, I know you guys have mostly heard of BIOS before, but that controls how the CPU and most of the primary system devices interact. What I'm talking about is something where it would be, how should I say this? It's directly related to my GPU. I would have to flash this, and from what I've been hearing from a lot of sources during my research, there isn't a specific chip that holds the VBIOS. So I'm thinking it might be on the hard drive or it might be somewhere on the motherboard, but I'm guessing it's varying from model to model for this laptop. So nonetheless, I'm going to be researching how to actually flash the VBIOS, which is different from the regular laptop BIOS, which controls CPU voltages and clocks and all that. But yeah, directly related to the GPU. And speaking of which, the GPU on that laptop is an NVIDIA GeForce Go 6150, I think? Yeah, 6150. Some of you may know about a GPU that's different, like the 6150 SE and other similar chipsets that rely on Enforce 430. But they're all kind of, I guess, grouped together in that case. Other laptops that came with similar setups with the GeForce Go and the AMD Turons include the DV series of laptops that HP released back years ago. A lot of people complained about those overheating as well. Now, as hold up, I left something on my screen here. Yeah, as I said before, most of these laptops have that overheating issue, and I think the primary reason is, of course, as many assume, due to the GPU and CPU voltages. So I'm going to be working on that, and in addition to this, I'll also be upgrading that RAM, as I've just said. I'm hoping that that'll help fix part of the issue as well, because of the fact that memory is consistently more than 60% full on that system when it's running. So I currently have 3 gigs of RAM in there, and it's not doing too nicely. Usually when I turn on Windows, all of a sudden the RAM goes from, hey, I have 3 gigs free to something like less than 1 gig of RAM free. But whatever the case is, I'm going to be trying to improve the performance of it. And in addition to this, I think you'll also find it interesting that I actually used a copper shim and some thermal paste on the GPU, and opposed to the regular thermal pad that they put on there. Helps out with cooling off things in there a little bit quicker, seeing that the thermal pad wasn't too good and it was already starting to fall apart. It was all around slightly ugly in there. The good thing is, though, there was pretty much no dust in the system, no dust on the vents, nothing blocking airflow or anything. So it's primarily just taking care of that heat issue, and then from there, the laptop will be usable again, just like it was back when it was running 32-bit Windows. So besides that, I'm also using an external wireless card for it. Now, I wish I could show you all of this, but I can't because the laptop's like, in a different part of my house, and I'm not going to show it here. But I think you'll be interested to know that I actually picked up that wireless card just due to the fact that when the laptop gets a little bit too hot, the internal Wi-Fi card actually cuts out. So I actually have to make the computer go to sleep, wait for it to cool off, and then from there, turn it back on when it's cooled off enough where I can actually use the Wi-Fi card again. So getting the external one makes it so that I don't have to actually rely on the internal one not overheating due to the thermal issue I just mentioned. So external Wi-Fi card takes care of the networking issues that occur due to heat, and I'm also working on undervolting, and I've also replaced the thermal pad with thermal paste and a copper shim to help out with the heat transfer process, and I'll be getting more RAM. Besides that, I'll also be looking into that VBIOS thing, and that should be an all-around solution to helping the laptop to function properly again, because I've actually used that laptop in past videos and live streams. It was extremely good for what it did back then with 32-bit Windows, but I wanted to give it a 64-bit Windows installation so that it could actually work with more memory. That, of course, came with a price of that heating issue for some reason got amplified by like tenfold. Now, on to the next thing. TXP-Network VOS development has currently seen, how should I say this, a huge jump. I'm not really going to say much. I'll just let the screen do the talking for the most part if I can here. I'm going to go on and pull up something here. That is, if I can. Yeah, just drag this into view here. Google Drive. Where's that programming folder? Yes, there it is. And then there. Excuse me. If you've been paying attention, I left links all around the internet for this repo online. This repository holds code for the current TXP VOS releases. Well, not releases, but more so development archives. And we are currently on boot kernel redesign 5.3. This is 5.3 right here. I edited that recently, just a couple nights ago. This, and for some reason, this notification on my other screen. But anyway, this has just been updated only a few days ago to actually have a full set of interrupt service routines ready, and also to have a full IDT and or IVT set up. So now I have full interrupt support in the operating system, allowing for exception and error handling. And that should actually help to speed up things, because now the last thing I have to do is write the memory manager. I'm calling that memman for now, memory manager. Not too creative. But anyway, once that's done, I'll then start the debugging cycle again. And I'll also be working on the shell, which will be the final part of this whole entire ordeal. Now, of course, the shell won't be the final part because the shell is actually a two-part project in itself. I first have to write a file system to allow for people to actually access resources more easily, and then I have to write a shell that can access that file system. So yeah, it's going to be a big jump. But all of that, I hope, will be done by the end of either this year or the beginning or middle of next year, and then I'll start actually trying to see if I can build a system image that can be booted onto a virtual machine. So all of this right here, the hints folder has been updated multiple times over the lifetime of this organization and or redesign. Sorry that's taking so long to load. The kernel code is of course in here. A lot of this was not really changed much. I will be renaming a few files soon to actually make it more linker. That of course some of these names don't really fit too well. .s file for a .cpp file makes sense, but how am I going to link that to the CPP file? I have to rename a lot of stuff. I have to go in and change the linkers again. And as I've said in recent updates before this, the linkers here are not up to date. So if you want to try to make linkers, you may go on and try to, but I will be making the linkers for this whole entire project once I get everything finished. And as you can see, there are a lot more new files here. I used a lot of external code from other projects and studied it carefully in order to actually create the interrupt service routines and to allow for the error handling to go a bit smoother. I would go over this in detail, but I think the main point to go over here is the fact that I actually made sure the interrupt service routine and just the exception and error handling in general provides a, how should I say this? A universal standard and or a universal format for everything. In other words, a dummy error code and also another code. Now, I'm sure that most of you don't know what that means, but once you go into, I guess, interrupt utils C and H and S, you'll probably know what I mean. I've left a few URLs in the comments of each file, so you can actually look through to see what I used for inspiration and to see what I'm talking about by the dummy code, the error codes, and all of that. But that's really all technical language that I don't really want to go over in this video because that'll probably cause a lot of you to fall asleep. That of which I'm already doing right now, probably. But anyway, that is all for TXP-Network operating system development. I now have to speak about the last part. The monitor that you're looking at, this is not a new computer, but is actually part of an eGPU setup. I'm currently using, if I can access Device Manager. Where is Device Manager? Will it open? Yes. Now, if I remember correctly, Device Manager will show the name of the device that is connected here, but so here is the GPU. I have attempted to install the drivers multiple times using drivers from the year 2016. Versions 21 and back didn't quite work too well, but a recent driver update, from what I can tell, appears to have made the eGPU more viable now because it is working perfectly. And as I've said just now, this is the screen and display adapter that I'm using to actually do this live stream. So yeah, pretty interesting. And I'll be testing this out on Steam and other games as well in the future. So I'm hoping that you're liking that, because I hope that this will definitely improve the quality of the gameplay that you see. So yeah, NVIDIA GeForce GT 520, I acquired this on eBay for just around 20 bucks or so. I was thinking about going for an NVIDIA, I guess 80, is it 8800 Ultra? Yeah, I was thinking about going for an NVIDIA 8800 Ultra from the Tesla architecture, but the prices were just a bit too high for me. So as a result, I decided not to go for it. But nonetheless, yeah, but nonetheless, this will definitely be something that I'll be testing out in the future, especially for games like Rocket League, which are 3D intensive and stuff like that. And I'll also be testing it out for some 2D games as well, like maybe Don't Starve Together 2. And speaking of which, I might as well pull up the Steam library right now. I'll also be testing this out on Transformers Devastation. Transformers Devastation will be probably one of the big testing sites for this GPU setup, simply because of the fact that it's so intensive on my computer, and I think that you might actually enjoy it once I start playing. So I'll leave that for a later video. And well, that's about all for today's update. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to, you can help by donating to us. Um, if you feel the need to, you can check out our PayPal donation link, or you can donate to us by using our donation email, ningo.com. And well, that's about all I have to talk about today. So guys, keep it cool. This is TXP Technologies signing out. And if you are new here, welcome to the galaxy. Hit that subscribe button and join, as what many YouTubers say, the notification squad. Yes, for notifications on new videos. And if you're welcome, oh yeah, if you're an old viewer here, if you've been around for a while, sorry for the lack of updates. It's just been really busy around here lately. But anyway, guys, it's time to roll, so I will see you in the next video. That will be over at Top Hat Productions 115's channel, where I'll be doing even more update content. Adios, and this is TXP signing out.